Thank you. And it's time for our last game of Group C. We've already seen 4 players through from Groups A and B, and we've already seen 1 player go through from Group C. Our 6th player into the quarterfinals will be determined next between these next 2. And they've got some history, ladies and gents. This is actually the 4th time they've met in the last few months, and every time they meet, there are fireworks. There are always going to be fireworks between these 2 players. It's a TVZ of the highest order between 2 fantastic players. The first to the stage, please welcome the Season 2 WCS champion, StarTale Bomber. And he goes head-to-head with the Queen of Blades. She is Scarlett. And we'll leave these 2 out here to fight it out. They'll be doing the map veto as well. It's time to hand you over to our commentary team, who I know are going to love this match.
Thanks very much, Paul. Welcome to the caster's desk here at the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore for the 2nd round of Bomber versus Scarlett. We already saw it go to full 3 maps, and Bomber was able to prevail. But now Scarlett, she wanted this match. She wanted revenge. Yeah, she did. Losing the 3rd game in a really disappointing fashion. Just a series with a lot of mistakes on both parts, and they both know it. Scarlett knows she can do better and is really excited to prove it. Yeah, certainly so. She was already able to dispatch of Dream in a fiery TVZ just before, but now has to play against Bomber, one of the nemesises here of Scarlett. As the map vetoes are going to occur in just a second. Both players are able to veto out 2 maps for this best of 3, and the remaining 3 maps, the first one will be determined by whoever, I believe it wins the coin flip, and then they choose from there on out. It definitely could be. And we've seen a lot of kind of uncomfortable ZVT maps, so I'm kind of curious to see what she's actually going to veto here, what she wants to play on the least, because there are quite a few maps here. They're just really not the best for ZVT. It's an uncomfortable map pool in general. It looks like Bomber gets to do the first veto, though. I imagine he'll get rid of Derelict Watch, but I'm not sure what else. He's probably pretty happy with everything except maybe Derelict Watch and Whirlwind. It's certainly a go-to in terms of dealing with Scarlett's like Ling, Bane, Muta pressure and play. You don't want to be playing against that on such an open map. Anything big and open, yeah. Actually, it would kind of even make sense to get rid of Frost for him, even though close positions that can be tough ZVT. Derelict Watch is first, but Frost is it's really good for that mass Muta style she seems to be playing. And there we go, there's Derelict Watch removed instantly there by Bomber, and now we'll see Scarlett go for hers. Yonsu goes away,
that
no
makes
surprise.
sense as well.
It's a very, very tough map to establish that 3rd base, and then from that point on, the rush distances are about 3 seconds.
That's an optimistic estimation. Stim Marines, they run.
They run, man. Well, and Frost actually goes away.
So yeah, he didn't like it. And he won that game in their previous series.
Previous 2 series.
Yeah, he actually did. So I guess he got kind of lucky there. If it hadn't been for the Baneling speed thing, I think he would have lost that. But that wasn't really the map. That was the build. So, and Belshir is the final veto. Or not final veto, but the next veto. And that's a pretty annoying map, ZVT as well. There's lots of good positions for Terran to get set up with little Widow Mine fortifications and just kind of rally Marines there. That was one of the original maps from the Marine train style. So not surprising to get rid of that either. But like I said, a lot of uncomfortable ZVT maps here. You kind of have to pick your poison as a Zerg player. Yeah. Well, that leaves us with Akilon Wastes as well as Polar Knight, and then Whirlwind as our as our 3 maps here. So these guys are just picking which is going to be the first. It looks like Bomber's taking quite a long time over this, and then once we know. Maybe they can hear us. I think they can. So.
Hi guys.
I don't know. Are we influencing the selections?
I don't think so. I think they'll be content with what they want to go for.
Yeah.
So as we said, we've seen a lot of great TVZ already today from both of these players as well as Dream, who did very well during the open brackets but was unable to really advance on forwards. There's the handshake as these players go to their booths to find out who advances on from Group C in 2nd place.
Really interesting to see the map order here. We haven't seen it just yet. Whirlwind has to be the go-to for Scarlett. That's the one where I think she has a significant advantage. So whether they get to play that first, but Bomber got to choose. He'll probably want to start out with a map he's more comfortable on. So I'd be surprised if we saw Whirlwind first.
Yeah, Whirlwind's kind of got the same mentality, just a little bit as Derelict Watcher, right? I mean, the opening in the middle is very, very large, but of course there's still a lot of pathways around the sides. Of course, a very much bigger map than Derelict Watcher. But Bomber's the kind of guy that goes. We've spoken about it. There's two styles. There's the Dream style of drops here and drops there, but then there's the Bomber style of straight down the middle, come for the kill.
He makes a gigantic army and he sends it at you, and he keeps doing that. And in some ways, that's good for Scarlett. In some ways, it's bad. She likes the very fragmented, very spread out game. And in some ways, Dream plays, if she can stop the medevacs, then Dream's play is perfect for her to play against. But if the medevacs get through, then they mess everything up because the mutas have to withdraw. You take that pressure off your opponent, you can start to establish bases and establish static defense. Bomber never really does that. So if you win one engagement against him, then the map is yours. You can kind of do what you want, and we've seen what she can do with it. So I don't know. I think Bomber is the more comfortable player for her to play against. Also, Dream was just so lethal early game. Although it seemed like she figured it out once it got to Akilon, but the first 2 games, he kind of almost just flat out won with his initial first 2-3 timing pushes.
Yeah. Dream's macro, once he got really into it, was absolutely superb. And I would even say, you know, that his macro in those mid-game positions, when he really hit his stride, was better than Bomber's.
I think his build order in specific was much more efficient and clean.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the trade-off. Bomber is a very diverse player. He'll do pretty much everything, as we've seen. Anything except normal, and he can even do that if he wants. But it's just, those builds aren't normal for a reason. They're not quite as efficient. They're not quite as powerful. Whereas Dream is very predictable. He did the exact same thing all 3 games, but the exact same thing worked really well because it was a really strong, really well laid out, really efficient build order. So Dream just has way more units than Bomber is going to have, but Bomber has that unpredictability, and he just got him a free win in the 3rd game against Scarlett previously. So that was one thing we were actually discussing with Maynard right before this match. Scarlett actually really lacks in her mid-game scouting. Early on, she's very conscientious with the drone looking for proxies, and late game, her Overlord spread is second to none. But she hasn't really been big on sacrificing Overlords to check on build orders, build timings, etc. Yeah,
it's true, and it kind of caught her off guard a little bit in terms of what we were seeing in that 2nd game against Bomber. But in the end, Bomber kind of overstepped the mark in terms of his unit positioning and wasn't really able to capitalize from that point on. But now we're just waiting for Scarlett to join the first map. It will be Polar Night for our first game, and we've said it time and time again. We've seen a lot of TVZ today that Scarlett is generally taking that 3rd quite late on this map. It's a normal map to be taking a later 3rd on, but it seems to be carrying over to every other map as well.
Yeah, she just goes for the late 3rd in general. It seems like part of her style. She likes to get more established before venturing out onto the map. And on here, that's kind of just the way you have to play it, so it coincides well with her style. She's very comfortable with that. She's very experienced. She knows all the timing. She's not stepping out of any kind of element in order to adapt to this map. But that being said, it's still a bad thing. You still don't want a late 3rd and a slow economy. But like we said, Bomber just doesn't have that, or doesn't do that clean-cut build that Dream did that can really punish any kind of little mess-up that Zerg does early on. So a lot more just comes down to scouting, and I really think she needs to sacrifice an Overlord into his main around the 7-minute mark, no matter what. Yeah. Just because you never know what he's going to do.
Well, one last chance for both of these players as Bomber and Scarlett face off to determine who will get the 6th spot in our round of 8, which will be played out tomorrow. We already have a fantastic lineup there, and Scarlett and Bomber are indeed good to go. Countdown has begun for game number 1. A final TVZ here in Group C to find out who goes along into that top 8.
And this is the map where Bomber did his 3 Barracks Marine, just essentially build order win in the previous series. Can't imagine he's going to do that again. No, that is a one-off kind of build. It's very easy to just flat out beat. It has to be a surprise.
All right, guys, let's get into it as we have spawning down to the southern position here as our Red Zerg representing Team Acer. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Scarlett. And up to the north, we have our Blue Terran representing Startail. Give it up for Bomber.
Which leaves us the question of what is Bomber going to do instead of that? Is he actually going to open up normal? Because all 3 games last time, I don't think once he went Reaper CC or CC first into Hellions into normal. That first game composition was so strange with the mass Blue Hellion plus some Hellbats plus some Widowmines plus some Marines.
I think you said it best in the first series that we cast of these guys, where Bomber just kind of does whatever he wants, be it Reaper opening, be it Blue Flame Hellions, be it into canceling Blue Flame into Blue Flame Hellions, be it Claude Van Damme Epic Split Marines, be it whatever he wants to do, Bomber can make it work. Well, Scarlett, she has to prepare for this, and that mid-game scouting, that transition into mid-game scouting is essential here to find out what Bomber's going to do.
Definitely is, and we do see Barracks first from Bomber, so, well, I would say probably a Reaper opening, but he actually did seem, he went Rack CC twice in the previous series. And maybe the same, nope, we do see a gas come down, so he is going to be going Reaper. Overlord hit it across the map, we'll scout everything out. Not sending out a drone, interestingly enough. Going into that first series, Scarlett said that she was really, really worried about any kind of cheese. She really thought Proxy Rax or Proxy Reaper was going to be coming out of Bomber.
Yeah, those illusions have been shattered, man.
Yeah, she drone scouted accordingly there, but she apparently feels that the danger for that has passed. Not sending out any kind of drones early on, just going to be going ahead with her build order. And, you know, if Bomber recognizes this, if he sees that no drone is coming now, maybe he goes for Proxy 2X in the next game, because if that were the case here, that would be very, very hard to hold off.
Yeah, certainly could do. And again, we know that Bomber can mix it up. So Scarlett has to be very, very wary of that. She's going to get full confirmation as to what's going on in just a little bit with this Overlord. And because it is the Reaper opening, she could actually head over and see that there is the gas there. But she doesn't want to stick around in the potential that it is a Marine. You have to be careful about that. Yeah,
since he has been going Barracks CC, it would be kind of dangerous for that Overlord to stick around and get any additional information. It actually didn't even see the second depot, so it hasn't confirmed if it is Reaper or Barracks CC just yet. She doesn't know for sure. Reaper CC is normally the fair assumption. That is the go-to build for Barracks first for most Terrans, but again, Bomber, you never know what he's going to do.
One Reaper does head on out. Second one is going to follow that up as well as the Alt Command Center goes down. So Scarlett's going to be playing against, once again, an economic build. And Bomber, what is he going to do? Is he going to throw down 2 extra barracks, or is he going to go for a 3rd command center? This will happen in a few minutes' time, but it really does dictate how the earlier stages and portions of this game are going to unfold. And then it'll be interesting to see how Scarlett plays against that. If she sticks to that later 3rd style that I would say that she probably will end up doing. She seems very, very comfortable in that regard. Yeah,
and on this map against Reaper without speed, you don't really have too many options. Something kind of interesting is actually happening. Upon realizing that it was a Reaper opening, Scarlett just ran her Overlord up behind the natural, so it's in prime location to run in and scout coming into the mid game should she decide to do that. So hopefully that's her responding to the fact that she's playing Bomber. And already going in and checking, just making sure it is going to be a factory opening. So she's kind of worried about that Marine opening he did to her.
Yeah, you make a really good point with that subtle Overlord movement more so than anything. It's, you know, there's no Marines there to contest that movement. Why not have that in prime position to then get that scouting intel that she now does get, sees the factory, does not see the 3rd command center though, and this Overlord, unless it changes path, is unable to do so either.
Nope. A quick starport coming from Bomber as well. I wonder if that will go into Banshee, because she doesn't have the quick E-bays or the barracks to really make use of that. And she is he is dropping a barracks over there. So that's probably going to turn into Banshee. But the Overlord is going to scout it immediately. I have to see if that's going to be a reactor or a tech lab on the barracks. Nothing yet.
He's
keeping us in suspense.
Tech lab. If he goes for the tech lab,
he doesn't have the second gas though, so he wouldn't really comfortably be able to go for cloak. So maybe a reactor, but he doesn't have a use for double medevacs just yet. He's not building anything on the barracks, so maybe that's just for show. Oh, it is a tech lab, so it's going to be a late casual Banshee. It's not going to come with cloak, I'd imagine. The initial 2 Hellions going out to poke.
All right, well, that 3rd command center is about to finish up here, and
Scarlett does scout the tech lab and the 3rd CC.
So she knows exactly what's up at this point, but with this, she's going to just try and deal with these Hellions, deal with these Reapers, wisely not attacking the Reapers, and just focusing down those Hellions, realizing that they're not the ones that are able to heal, as they will end up pulling back slightly.
They do. Still decent creep spread. He hasn't actually, he took out 1 tumor, I believe, but still a couple of active tumors. It's really, really hard. That was actually one of the most impressive things about Dream previous game, is that he actually managed to shut down the creep spread of Scarlett quite well. Bomber working on doing it, but generally speaking, she's going to get that going. And no Banshee started just yet, even though the starport is on the tech lab. But Scarlett, this is really good. She has been very, very persistent about scouting. Actually, just discouraging Bomber from going Banshee at all. He just lifted up the starport and abandoned the tech lab.
4 engineering bays.
That's not.
It's the first time I've ever seen that.
No, Innovation did that quite a bit back during his dominant period. That was his little quirk.
Yeah, well, indeed does already cancel 2 of those. Very, very important to do so. Now, I've got to ask you, Idra, now that Scarlett, and she did see this very, very early on. She saw that the 3rd command center was going down. I mean, yes, she does always delay this 3rd base, and she feels more than happy to do so. But was there room for her to have this earlier, or does this small contingent of units really kind of shut that down on a map like this?
You really can't take it until you have speed against a Terran who opened up with Reapers and then immediately sends their Hellions out. It's very hard to push out with your Queens there. It just doesn't happen. You don't have a tanky enough source of damage to push them back. You have no opportunities around them. That's a lot of circling. She's going. Yeah. She has to get aggressive with that. And she traps these Hellions that could be big, but it's hard to do.
Trying to loop around here to catch some of these, but the Hellions are being controlled by the man that is known as Bomber. So he should be able to micro on back here to an advantageous position, and does so with very, very good control. Scarlett has to run away. 22 Lings for 1 Hellion.
Not a good trade there by Scarlett. And that was a deviation. She usually doesn't get aggressive with her Lings against that. She's going super fast Spire as well behind this. Her 3rd hatchery isn't even done yet, and the Spire's coming up. A quick macro hatchery as well. So this is essentially the same thing that she did against Dream in the 3rd game there. So it appears she liked how that worked out.
Neuratized Carapace being added on, as well as centrifugal hooks for those Banelings. So again, there was one moment during this tournament so far that Scarlett kind of forgot to grab that a little bit quicker, and now there's no forgetting. It's so important here that she's able to get that, especially against a player of the caliber of Bomber, who can just constantly push on forwards. But the creep spread not gathering full momentum just yet here for Scarlett. Really wants to start pushing that aggressively.
Yeah, she's kind of pushed back. Actually, a 7th and 8th Hellion joining the party for Bomber. He's trying to keep the pressure on, trying to keep that creep back. Succeeding to an extent. He should burn a scan there, just take out those active tumors. Yes, choosing not to. So it's still pretty decent creep. She has enough that she's going to be able to defend her bases. A lot of Banelings coming from Scarlett. That's odd. And a ton of Lings. She's actually going to put a lot of pressure on this 3rd base here. I feel Bomber's going to be able to defend pretty easily.
And a few Lings try and head into that 3rd base, but not really much skedaddling there, with 10 more drones on the way. Going up to around 70 drones, in fact, across these 3 bases. So going to be very, very heavy and fueling that economy strongly. But one thing that's great here for Bomber is that his 2-2 is very much in line with Scarlett's. It will finish up just a little bit after, but that's a pretty good spot to be in. These Banelings trying to run on forwards against this. There's actually no 1 or 2 Widowmines with that. Does force Bomber away. Surprised he got that aggressive that early.
Yeah, especially given Scarlett had way, way more Banelings than you normally have at that point. Like, to the extent that I was pretty sure she was going to try and get aggressive with it. Bomber attacking it anyway and losing everything that he couldn't pick up and run away with. And pretty good trades, because she got 3 or 4 Widowmines out of that as well. And keeping Widowmine counts low early on is always so important.
It's actually a good point that you bring up, though, the fact that she had so many more Banelings, because she had very few Mutors.
Yeah.
Obviously, the gas has to be distributed somewhere, so they weren't really present to the fight.
Those Mutas are now up. A little bit late, but they're now up, so they will be able to chase back Medivacs, and Bomber has to be a lot more careful. He can just get overrun here. He does not have enough units, and he's standing on creep. This is very, very ballsy of him.
And how many Widowmines does he have in total? Just the 2 to 4 with this push. There's 2 more going to come along with this.
He's continuing to push in. He can just get overrun here.
That's a lot of units here from Scarlett, as she will push this away. He forces the lift. She forces the lift off very, very well there. And the Banelings do also. Oh my God! Getting some really great connections in the end. Bomber trying to drop some of these units and push away again.
Good medevac micro from Bomber kind of salvages that situation at the end there. Scarlett overextended a little bit. Going off creep, it's always really dangerous unless you have a massive overwhelming force. And she had an advantage, but not that much of one. So she ended up losing a little bit more than it was worth. But her 4th hatchery is coming down. She's holding back through these attacks easily, and her 2-2's about to finish. Bomber's is a little bit delayed. If he actually engages right here, he has an upgrade disadvantage, but not enough Mutas or Banelings from Scarlett. She's kind of gas-starved.
Yeah, there's only 4 Banelings out with this. Really needs to get those gases down at the 4th base up as well. Adding in a few more Banelings, and Widowmine still only 4 around and about to try and shut this down. But look at these supply counts. Very, very even. And Bomber, unlike Dream, has done no damage at all to Scarlett's economy. So he's just going for the absolute sledgehammer straight through the middle, straight to the macro, killing blows here.
Those mutants of Scarlett starting to get active, starting to cut off reinforcements, but this army absolutely has to be dealt with very quickly. She can't afford to lose that third. Kind of sloppy there, losing a lot of banelings. Not the best baneling hits there.
And trying to move on forwards. Once again, the Mutas on the right-hand side, staying out of the fight up until the point where the Zerglings and Banelings swing on in. Scarlett does end up cleaning it up, but at any point in time now, Bomber has 14 Marines on the way. So big macro focus still out of Bomber, constantly rallying those forwards, while Scarlett just has to pump all of her lava into Lings constantly.
She does have drones, a few drones at the 4th base, but she hasn't taken the gases yet, and she's not taking out these medevacs. The medevacs are the part of the Terran army that you really can't afford to lose when you're just rallying units, and he's keeping those alive. That's the important thing for him here. As long as he does that, he'll be successful. 3-3's coming, and Scarlett, true to form, no hive in sight. She's just going mass mutas. The +2 is half done for those. Not a lot of banelings here. This is getting, I don't know. She's been doing okay in these fights, but not amazingly.
Still a few Widowmines with the charge. The Lings are going to lead the charge as well, though, as those banelings
Not a lot of reinforcements here. If he doesn't drop carefully, she kind of messed up her Zergling control there. If she just followed them under the medevac, she would have killed the Marines. Yeah. She would have killed the Marines as they unloaded one by one. But good control by Bomber. A little bit of mistake by Scarlett allowed him to salvage that potentially dicey situation. Looks like Scarlett wants to go in again.
And looks like it. There's not that many banelings there to really deal with that. And the thing is that we're going up to 14 medevacs here now for Bomber. So the longevity in his army is extremely considerable, and also the retreat potential there is very strong as well, to be able to just pick up everything, get straight out of a sticky situation if Scarlett's able to engage multiple fronts.
Yeah. Good response by Scarlett, though, recognizing that growing...
She has to save that hatchery. She absolutely has to engage right now. Those banelings trying to roll forwards, but they really don't get the connections that they want at all. The detonations aren't there for them. Explosions not really doing too well, but the Widowmines did okay for themselves, and Bomber continues this aggression.
That muta count's getting really scary, and Scarlett did recognize that growing medevac count, like you said, and she started to add a lot more banelings, get that burst damage, try and kill the Marines before they can heal at all.
Yeah.
But just such a big, scary army, and he doesn't even have 3-3 yet. That's gonna join, or that's going to kick in very soon here, and then fights are going to get even harder for Scarlett.
It feels like there's a big focus on the medevacs, and less so Widowmines. I know they're obviously different production facilities, but generally here, well, we're going to have to see if we can hold this off, as the banelings will end up trying to power on through again, but just good splits here by Bomber. Scarlett's continuing to keep the supplies very even, but only the Mutalists are engaged now. They don't really have too many Lings in support.
There was only 5 or 6 Marines there. I feel like, but with the reinforcements, the constant reinforcements from Bomber coming in, and banelings explode on the Marauders.
Yeah, that one Marauder soaked up a lot of the damage. It's a minute detail, but now she has to retreat from the 3rd base. A big blow to Scarlett. She did already get the rocks cleared down to the bottom left, so she can expand to that location, and that's far easier to defend in relation to how many Mutalisks she has.
Yeah, but actually, Bomber really not taking a 4th base. He's almost kind of going all in here. She can afford to sack that base if she can clean up the army afterwards. She doesn't have to suicide for it, but it looks like she kind of wants to, and that would be a terrible decision right here. She cannot engage that army just yet.
Oh, nice Widowmine connection brings a lot of those Mutalisks low. And so 4 more banelings actually added on there. She really doesn't have that many banelings, only 8 in total. She really needs that splash damage to be able to contend with this.
And she just doesn't have the resources to produce enough of anything. Bomber's macro, his supply goes up whenever they fight. He replaces more than he actually loses.
Yeah, Bomber's doing fantastically here. A few medevacs do end up flying a little bit too far forwards, but there you go. GG, game number 1 goes to the Terran Bomber. And that was a brutal game there for Scarlett.
Yeah, that was pretty textbook. We were talking about how he never plays normal, and he decided to show us up. Played absolutely normal and did it perfectly there. Very aggressive, just constant attacks, never even thinking about a 4th base, just completely happy to push the advantage in and go for the kill. Worked out really well for him.
Scarlett's having to show the stamina of her ZVT here, I feel. Yeah. After the series that we had against Bomber at the beginning of the day, and it taking an interesting toll. I mean, the games were not normal by any means. When you get into those abnormal games, there's a lot of mental tasking going down on the players. And then when you go over to the next series against Dream, there were some very long, drawn-out games there as well.
Very long, yeah.
So it could be taking its toll here on Scarlett if if this continues on further, because Bomber right there, he flourished. He completely flourished, and Scarlett really didn't have too much of an answer for it.
Bomber definitely looked like the fresher player there. He was very crisp, very clean. A couple of decision-making mistakes, but he got away with them. He was able to pull himself out with good medevac control. Scarlett, on the other hand, quite a few missteps here and there, but overall it was really just Bomber played impeccably, and Scarlett didn't really have much of an answer to it. Part of it was the map. That was a tough map to TVZ on, as we've said all throughout the day, and now she gets Whirlwind to work with, so maybe that will be the difference. Maybe that will help.
It's tough life Scarlett here in game number 2. And, well, as you said, Whirlwind is our map. So, as Bomber and Scarlett get ready to go into game number 2, you got to wonder, is Scarlett a little bit on tilt in regards to what's been happening in these past couple of series? It's been a long day already for her in regards to against Terran.
Despite having some frustrating games previously, she always seemed capable of fighting back and getting a win afterwards. So
yeah.
I don't know how much you want to worry about that. But then you take that on top of the exhaustion of playing so many long, drawn-out, back-and-forth games, and everything starts to come together to take its toll. Plus, she's been traveling a lot recently. That's something we haven't really talked about, but she's been at Red Bull, and I think she had other games, or other tournaments she played recently. I forget exactly what. But she even tweeted after the series against Bomber about how she thought they were both exhausted, and that's why they made a lot of mistakes. So really, she's been playing a lot of StarCraft. It gets hard after a while.
Yeah, I think she mentioned to us she's attended like something like 7 tournaments in the past couple of months across the globe.
That's really kind of absurd. That's just so much traveling, so much.
And then she's not going to stop because she's going to more tournaments, 2 more tournaments very, very soon. So I imagine after that is going to be quite a prolonged break for Scarlett, because before these recent periods, we haven't really seen Scarlett travel too much. She was actually one of the players that traveled very, very little in comparison to most. But now that's been completely turned on its head. But now let's get into game number 2 as we have spawning up to the top left-hand corner. Currently 1 game down in this best of 3, representing Team A. So ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Scarlett. And up to the top right, we have our blue Terran looking to advance on to the round of 8, representing StarTale. Give it up for Bomber.
So we've actually gotten close positions on Whirlwind. It's not ideal for Scarlett. She'd like a little bit more room to work with. But Whirlwind, regardless of that, is a very big map. She shouldn't be under too much pressure early on. But again, we never know what Bomber's going to do. He could do some kind of 2-base, a Hellion Banshee, something along those lines that can be aggressive regardless of rush distance. So something like that's a possibility. I'm curious even just what exact opener Bomber would do. I would imagine 14cc. This is very much so a 14cc map. You're not going to be able to put any pressure on your opponent. Reaper CC doesn't really accomplish too much. And honestly, anyone who watches Scarlett play as a Terran should be going 14cc against her. She's not going to take a fast third regardless. So you don't really need to prevent her from doing it. You can just take your own economy and run with that advantage. So he really should be going 14cc here, but we see Barracks first anyway. And we'll have to see if it's going to be Rack CC or if it is going to be Reaper. The last time they played on Big 4-player map, Frost, he did go with Barracks CC, so that may be his go-to for big macro maps.
Yeah, and especially since we're on Whirlwind and they are so close positions, unless Scarlett would send out a drone scout or anything like that and spot her opponent early, then it would be really difficult for her to take her in a third base. I mean, despite the fact that she doesn't really like it anyway, taking a third base, and if she just took one randomly up to the north without scouting out where her opponent was, that would be kind of devastating. She would always want to take it down to the south.
Yeah, that third Overlord will come up, or that first Overlord, sorry, will come up to the ramp shortly and find out that Bomber is not there. So she would know that it's relatively safe to take the lower expansion. Don't think she's going to be going for that anyway. We do see the spawning pool come down. I don't think she's going to deviate here. She hasn't thus far. I don't think she will. So I would expect to see the normal 4 queens, couple of gas, pretty late third. And it is indeed Barracks CC from Bomber.
Just getting into the swing of things here once again. A lot of TVZ so far, and then we had Hero just power through everybody in this group. He's done all right for himself. And, well, with Scarlett now not adding on any gases just yet, I can only imagine that's going to be slightly delayed once again.
Yeah, she seems to tend to get her gases up around 36 supply. I guess that'd be like the 430 mark. There's just a bunker fake coming down here, just going to mess with. Oh, and it's working. She's putting down Spine Crawler. Ooh, that's obviously an overreaction. She will cancel that, but either way, spending 100 minerals there is kind of annoying. It's going to slow stuff down. And he's sending the 2 Marines out, so she lets the bunker go up. It's going to be kind of a pain. But at this point, she should realize that's not a dedicated, significant bunker rush.
Yeah, if this, like, where's the Marine that's coming along to help this out?
It looks like it's going to finish, though. Just
Quite
barely.
far away. And the Zerglings will chase that CV off.
The SCV could pull the Zerglings around, then the Marines run into the bunker. Oh, he's just going to fight the Zerglings. That's a good choice. He will be able to fight those down. Then he'll just salvage the bunker. So kind of effective little harass. Did she let the Spine Crawler finish?
No, she didn't.
No,
she canceled it
okay.
about like 90% worth. So
that's very good then.
Yeah.
That would have been a big waste. And we see a third CC coming down pretty much immediately. So Bomber, even before the factory, so Bomber's kind of realizing she's not really going to put too much pressure on you, and she's going to play very conservatively. Might as well go for the economy, and I think that's absolutely the correct choice to make here.
Yeah.
And she's putting down 2 gases again. She's not making the third hatchery, so she's just going to be very behind in terms of economy.
2 things here is that noticeably Bomber's third CC is over to the left-hand side, which makes us think he's going to take it in that close-by expansion, and therefore we could quite easily see exactly the same style from last game. Just being aggressive, launching your attacks from there would make it very, very easy for Bomber. And also this bunker by Bomber, I mean, despite getting a wall down, which would be fantastic, I think the bunker isn't even that much needed. I mean, we're not really seeing too much really, really aggressive moves from Scarlett in these series.
Yeah, but at this point in the game, it's natural for the Terran to have excess minerals because they have those mules running. They're not really producing too much, and it's a pretty big unnecessary risk to take to not put that bunker down. It keeps you safe in case something funny happens. And he didn't get into the main. He doesn't know for sure that she's not going to speedling. He didn't see those gases, so it's just a good precaution to make. Oh, it's actually 2 factories, as our observer is trying to get us to notice. So it is going to be a bunch. So this is similar to what he did on Frost, I think, where he just ends up going into Blue Flame Hellions, and then this weird bio kind of mech composition comes out. And I thought that was pretty bad. It worked out for him because Scarlett didn't go speed banelings. She's definitely not going to make that mistake again. So I'd be curious to see if it actually works out this time.
And trying to scout out Washington.
Blue Flame Hellions immediately started. See if he cancels it this time.
Probably not.
I think he'll try and avoid doing that.
And this is basically Bomber's ticket to a free win if it goes unscouted and if Scarlett doesn't control the defenses properly. She does have the 2 evolution chambers at the top of the natural, so that closes the gap off a little bit there if the queens want to position themselves. But there's going to be a lot of Hellions out here for Bomber as he does try and locate that third base, and indeed he will even get a creep tumor.
Yeah, Scarlett only ever seems to make 3 additional queens, and that's not enough to really shut it down. And she doesn't go very heavy on the Zerglings in the mid game. That first game, had he not accidentally canceled Blue Flame, I think he would have done maybe game-ending damage there. He still killed a ton of drones, but he wasn't able to just power up the ramp because he didn't have Blue Flame. He couldn't get rid of those Zerglings as quickly.
This is really clever by Bomber. He's leaving because he's making 3 Hellions at any given time, so he doesn't want to send out an uneven number of Hellions to make it look like it's 2 factories. He's keeping the Hellions from the second factory at the back in his base and only sending out even numbers. So it's a very, very small thing once again, but if Scarlett saw that, maybe it would tip her off to what's going on.
Oh yeah, if you see 3 Hellions come out at once, you definitely know something's up. I'm not sure if the Overlord is quite in vision range because he did just send out 3, so if she noticed that, I don't think the Overlord's in range though, so I think she's still kind of in the dark, and she's making 15 drones right now.
That is big. She needs units here. She really needs units, but those Blue Flame Hellions are going to be able to breach up into this third base. Zerglings try and run around, but they instantly get completely torched as the drones are going to rapidly fall. She's evacuated quite a lot of them. These 2 queens trying to berate away at these Hellions. There's 7 of them left though, and got 6 workers during all of that. They come back. They don't want to come back into that roasting.
Oh, they just sat out there. They didn't go to safety. Oh no.
This could be really bad. Oh.
One more shot, and she loses another 7 drones there.
She could have lost a lot more than just 11 during all of that. I'm quite surprised that there weren't more going down, but worker supply now 56 to 63, actually in favor of Scarlett.
Yeah, she defended that very well, and Bomber kind of wasted a lot of time. There was 4 or 5 drones sitting at the third base. He sat there and shot them with 7 Blue Flame Hellions for quite some time. He could have just left 1 or 2 and then ran off to find more damage elsewhere. But as is, I don't know if that was really worth it. Like, not an all-in, not a big investment by Bomber. He definitely has a transition out of this. But he's putting down how many barracks? He's making a ton of barracks. He's going to go very aggressive here.
Very, very aggressive with this. That's a lot of production facilities, and once again, Korean Terran macro is above the rest in terms of how aggressive it can be. Zerglings trying to move into position to push this away again, but this isn't doing. The Hellions aren't really containing the creep spread that well. Look, the creep of Scarlett is already knocking on the door of the third base here of Bomber.
Yeah, the Hellions are honestly barely accomplishing anything at all. Like we said, this is just the setup for the end game or the mid game from Bomber. He's going for a big Marine plus stuff push after this, and the Hellions are just meant to do as much as they can, make it as easy as possible for him to do damage with that. But it's also a pretty decent investment. That's a lot of minerals there. That's a lot of Widow Mines that he doesn't have. And if he accomplishes nothing, besides killing a few creep tumors and a handful of drones, it's not worthwhile. That is going to give him a disadvantage.
And 9 more Mutalisks now enter the fray for Scarlett, so she has indeed transitioned on to this style. And she absolutely has to win this match. If she doesn't, she is completely out. She needs to keep her hopes alive in this tournament. She's taking the fourth down to the bottom left-hand location. And I actually think that, you know, rising Mutalist numbers here are going to work out quite nicely, considering that the Marine count and the Widow Mine count is not as high as it normally would be at this particular time because of the committal to the Hellions.
Yeah, everything is going to come down to the Mutas, and particularly the Banelings, because again, just like the first game, he has a couple of Widow Mines, but he's not going to have a lot of Widow Mines. He doesn't have any tanks, doesn't have any Marauders. He's not going to have anything that's very good at killing off Banelings. So as long as she can get enough connections with the Marines, she can just kind of steamroll through this. The only thing he's really good at dealing with is Zerglings, so she has to be careful not to play very Zergling heavy. But I mean, as long as she recognizes it, she's going to be in great shape here.
Yeah, just needs to morph in a few more Banelings. Got 4 out right now. 4 more are going to be on the way.
That's not enough. That is kind of dangerous.
Very much so. Drilling Claws finishes up as well. So the detonations from those Widow Mines are going to be pivotal in terms of actually dealing with this army once again. Bomber, 177 supply to the 164 of Scarlett. But Scarlett looking to just snipe out some of those Widow Mines. It does get 1 or 2.
Got 1 for free. Nice control again by her. And she's making she's actually making 12 drones right now. And
wow.
This is kind of an all-in from Bomber. He's not taking the gases as his third. He's not looking for a fourth. He's looking to kill her off 3 bases once more. She has to be careful not to get too greedy, not to over-drone. She really just needs to be making Banelings right now.
Launching an assault from a very close location where that creep spread is going to help her out to...
Muta's going into third as well.
Yeah, exactly. Do damage to that third. And there's only 1 missile turret there to contend with 19 Mutalisks. That's not going to work out too well. A very lackluster defensive position has been set up here for Bomber, and he's taking some damage.
Bomber was kind of putting everything on just going on the aggressive, not letting Scarlett have any space to go aggressive herself. And it kind of backfired there. It cost him a lot. It pulled his army out of position and forced his hand. He has to go in and try and attack now. And if those 2 armies fight, Scarlett is just going to absolutely roll him. It will just get completely obliterated.
192 supply here. She's actually going to go for it. Those Zerglings need to wrap around and hold all of these units in position. There's really not that many Widow Mines. The Banelings all split up in turn and completely massacre these Marine numbers. And Scarlett takes a decisive victory in that engagement.
It's a terrible build. Bomber needs to never do this again. At least he's starting to add in Widow Mines now. The Hellions are gone. The Widow Mines are there. The Widow Mines are scary. So, and I don't know, he's only 20 supply behind, but he doesn't have a fallback. He needs to be making this work. If this attack fails, the game's going to get kind of out of his hands really fast.
Yeah, it is. And more Banelings do end up moving forward. So that's quite a nice Widow Mine field that we're seeing being set up here by Bomber. But all Scarlett has to do is move back, buy a little bit more time, get some more Banelings out, and then once Bomber tries to push up into a more disadvantageous position for him, just go for the explosions.
This is a nice position for Bomber, kind of. Those Widow Mines are covering... Oh, but he doesn't get the burrow mine, the Widow Mines burrowed in time.
Yeah, it's very important to get those down as quickly as possible. Some of those Widow Mines really didn't do a whole lot, but there's not that many Banelings left over.
There's no medevacs, though. She can just kill the Marines with the Mutas.
And they just absolutely disintegrate. Absolutely disintegrate. There's 4 medevacs on the field, but where are they? They're nowhere near to support that. So now Scarlett takes the 30 supply lead. The one thing that's going in Bomber's favor, at some point, if he survives, he will have +3 weapons, which we all know how well those fare with those Marines.
But not even 3-3. His +2 armor has just completed now. It's going to be a long time before 3-3. And Bomber's kind of in desperation mode. He's just sending units across the map, even though he has no chance at winning any of these fights. And this game is really in Scarlett's hands at this point.
And doing very well. Actually also adding on a base down to the bottom left-hand corner of this map, and these medevacs dying off means even less on the field. Still only 4 to help out the Marauders and Marines that are going to come out here. Now the Marauders' job is purely and simply to try and tank up some of these Banelings when going into the engagements. But I don't think Scarlett's going to let that happen. She's maxed out against a 155 supply Terran.
Maxed out, and she is already up to 32 Mutas and continuing the production, plus 83 drones. Just tons of everything all She doesn't have a ton of creep spread, actually, which is very unusual for her, but Bomber has been being just so aggressive that I think we can let that one slip just this once.
Still no air of a fourth base even though for Bomber. He's like
none whatsoever.
Still stuck on this 3-base economy. It's not even a 3-base economy. He doesn't have the gases still at the third.
It's like 2.5-ish, kind of barely. It was essentially an all-in by Bomber. He needed to kill her with those first 2 waves, or at least get to a point where he could snowball to a win from those first 2 waves, and he didn't accomplish it at all. So Scarlett kind of just gets to run around. He is up to 193 supply, but that's 193 supply of pretty mediocre units with a small medevac account.
Yeah, I mean, a comfortable Scarlett from this point on, adding on the infestation pit, just running around with the Zerglings and Banelings near her opponent's bases, makes it look a lot more easy for Scarlett, but she doesn't want to... Where are all these Banelings and Lings going? They're just going straight to the main.
I'm not sure if I'd like a counterattack here, because Bomber... A base trade is a much better chance at the win than he really deserves at this point in the game.
Yeah. Like, she could have taken straight-up engagements before. There was
he can kill her really, really fast. That's a lot of Marines and insane DPS.
Well, this is going to turn into a full-blown base trade scenario, as the Mutalisks are doing pretty well for themselves. I guess if Scarlett just expands everywhere with the Mutalist numbers, then she could make this work, but she's actually losing a lot of Zerglings. This is actually getting quite bad, because she doesn't have many Zerglings. She has 13 Banelings and 31 Mutalists, but there's still 76 Marines alive.
She's losing everything important. He hasn't gone into the main. I'm not sure if I like that or not. There's a lot of production, a lot of tech in there, but he's taking out all of the active expansions. She's just going to have essentially no production left, and she doesn't have enough mutas to fight Bomber's standing army.
Nope.
There's a few burrowed Banelings out here that might take out a big chunk of Marines, but even that, I don't know if it'll be enough.
No production left to the point where she's adding on 2 Baneling nests, 2 Spires, 1 spawning pool. She really needs those up and running. She did add on a lot of Zerglings though, so now she's up to around 59, has to get those away and be able to morph in some more Banelings. But all during this, she did get Burrow. So Burrow Banelings, well, we all know how that goes sometimes.
Yeah, she has the 4 out in the middle of the map, but she was waiting for a connection, didn't find the one she wanted. She is actually unburrowing those. Some outside the natural of Bomber, just waiting. And the Muta's picking apart the main. No more production for Bomber, so what he has is what he is going to have. That's the end of it. But that might still be enough. I don't know.
All right, well, I mean, if he is stuck on with no production at all, it's now 63 Marines out on the map, and those can slowly be killed off. Now, Bomber did end up getting around 8 medevacs out in total, so that is very helpful for the longevity of this game, but they can be also picked off by those Mutalisks, so he has to be very careful about the control there.
The other thing is he's only running off 2 orbitals. He doesn't have very many scans to work with. And Scarlett, she's selecting those Banelings. She's waiting for it. She knows.
She knows.
But he's not clumping.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of, maybe.
She knows.
Nah, not good enough yet.
Nah, it's not worth it. 1.
Patience.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that Bomber would be willing to drop a scan right there as well. It's like, oh, well, it was 1 Baneling, that's fine. And that was actually not too bad a trade.
A free pack of Marines in the main go down.
Very nice.
Scarlett has recovered. It was a little bit dicey there for a second, but she firmly has this in hand now.
Yeah, it's 39 Marines still out. There are 5 Widow Mines that are trying to make something happen, but considering that Scarlett has 2 hatcheries going back up, there are still booby traps all over this map with some Zerglings chilling out here just to shut down those SCVs once the Marines decide to leave. And this is going in Scarlett's favor. You're right.
And she has 40 mutas, so at this point she can actually kill off buildings faster than Bomber can hunt down all of her expansions, I believe. And that orbital is going to fall. And this is just going to be not even a very slow death for Bomber. I think she's going to end it up pretty quickly here.
Killing off the orbitals, perfect response to having Burrow out yourself. No more scans means no more opportunity to really move around on the map freely. And oh, a full pickup here. Bomber knows it's desperation time. He knows he has to try and make something happen. And, well, just dealing with his Mutalist for just a second.
Yep, but immediately, of course, the Zergling's on Burrow, and she goes for the kill, knowing that she can chase him down anyway.
Uh-oh, bye-bye orbital. That's the last orbital.
Yep. Oh, can he save it?
And burning down. Bye-bye.
So no more scans. Those Banelings are now pretty much uncontestable. He just has to hope he doesn't stand on them. Why not?
Yeah, why not, I guess.
Injury.
No more Marines for you for a minute. Well,
if only he weren't supply blocked.
Well, yeah, that's true.
And he has 0 SCVs right now.
Yeah, it's 35 Marines and 8 Medevacs going to try and contend against 37 Mutalisks, along with a few Banelings burrowed here
2
and
loaded
there.
Medevacs, but the burrowed Lings actually spot those, so they are going to die, and that has to be GG.
There you
Bomber
go.
gives up.
Scarlett ties the series up 1-1. We have a fight on our hands as we will be going to the 3rd game in just a little bit. And every time Scarlett takes these maps, she seems very,
looks
very
amused.
happy. Yeah.
That's more. I think that's more amused than happy. She's like, I shouldn't have really let that get that close.
Yeah.
That counterattack. I don't know if that was really the best decision there, but she had enough of an advantage that it ended up not mattering. She was able to stabilize and pull out the win.
Now I think that our final map is going to be Akilon Wastes, if I recall correctly.
I believe it was, yeah.
So we saw Bomber trying a very, very interesting mech style on that map. Do you think that we'll see that from him again, or do you think we'll see the standard, I mean, this is all on this one last map for him. So does he just go straight to the bio mine again? Does he not do the Blue Flame Hellion weirdness?
I really hope he doesn't do it. That was,
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like Scarlett to win, so yeah, go for it, Bomber, but that was not a good build. I don't know if he'd go mech again, because he has still been mixing it up. He played completely standard and normal that first game. That second game, funky build again. And both games going for very heavy 3-base pressure. He is looking to end it. He wants to kill her pretty early. And I don't know, he might try that mech build again. It looked like it was working out. We actually talked to Scarlett after, and she said that she kind of figured it out when she saw the Hellbats, but she just doesn't really know what to do against mech. She's not very comfortable against it, so she's stuck on Mutiling Bane anyway. Bomber, of course, doesn't know that, so that's not really going to influence him. But if he does go mech, that might be kind of bad for her.
There's all these possibilities.
Yeah, it's Bomber. We can't really predict what he's going to do.
And then there's the possibility of all of Scarlett's thoughts about these initial series coming to fruition on a map like Akilon Wastes. And
Proxy 2 racks for the final game.
Exactly. He just does something absolutely crazy in this final game. We'll see in just a little second, as Scarlett has now joined the lobby, and we'll be getting into game number 3 in a bit here at the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore. But again, what a Group C we've had. All of these games been pretty darn good. You look back at them, and yes, there were mistakes in some of the games, but been so entertaining, and nothing really too disappointing, I would say.
No, not really. You could kind of say the games against Hero were disappointing, but it was really just his prowess. We keep harping on that, but he just won his game so easily. There's not too much more to say about it. And then all of the ZVTs have been super back and forth, very, very entertaining. Despite, or even because of the mistakes, just so much action and such long, drawn-out games. But exciting games, not like the happy games.
Yeah. Not like the happy games. Hey, Todd actually found those exciting, man.
No.
He did. I tell no lies. All right, countdown has begun for game number 3 as we load up onto Akilon Wastes. These two players are 1-1 apiece. It's always very, very close when it comes to Scarlett versus Bomber, and we would have it no other way here in the final series of Group C to determine who moves on to the round of 8. All right, let's get going, guys. As we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner, our red Zerg able to tie things up 1-1. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Scarlett. And up to the top left-hand corner, our blue Terran representing Startail. Give it up for Bomber.
And now we all sit and wait and see what kind of build Bomber's going to do. Scarlett has done the exact same opening every single CVT. Oh.
Wait
he
a
hasn't
minute.
rallied out.
Panic mode.
If he's rallying it out that early, I think that means... Actually, he might just be building a depot there.
No, man.
Nope, nah, yeah, he's going for it.
He's
is this gonna
going
be Proxy
for
Rax
it.
Reaper, or is this going to be... it's going to be Proxy 2 Rax, because he's already building the depot in his main.
But is he...
Actually, it could be...
He's not sending out another SCV, though.
It could be the later Proxy Rax Reaper, then.
Yeah.
So it's not the super cheesy one, it's not the absurd one, but it is going to be Proxy Rax Reaper.
And Scarlett, before this group's games even began, I was watching her playing against a Proxy Reaper build on ladder, and she lost to it.
Yeah.
She said that she has a lot of problems. She's
she
gonna
knows.
Go. Oh
Early
my
gas.
God.
This is perfect for Scarlett.
And she spoke exactly about this. She was like, I'm going to go 14-14 against somebody who's going to do this. She knows 100% what is going on. Scarlett is reading this perfectly.
That is just absurdly good game sense. The last 2 games, she didn't drone scout. She knew he wasn't going to cheese the last 2 games, and she knows he is this. This is absolutely perfect from Scarlett.
Wow. Even that Overlord is going in just that little bit of a funky direction. It's like, what's over here?
I think it sees it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's so close.
Bomber,
And it sees it. She
you've
knows.
been dumbfounded. Scarlett knows what you're up to, and now this is gonna be tense. Scarlett knows exactly what is going on. One barracks, of course it's Reaper. She doesn't have to know that there's a gas going down at the back of this to figure out exactly what is up. And she's gonna have speed so quickly. She's gonna have Zerglings out so quickly to deal with these initial Reapers.
Bomber sees the lack of an expansion, knows that something may be up, and he's going to be really sad in a second here.
Oh, yeah. He's like, wait a minute. Uh-oh. Wah, wah.
She's pulling drones off gas, so she's not immediately going for a Baneling bust. She's not just going to try and kill him off. Oh, yeah, once those Speedlings are out, the Reaper will be forced back. And interesting, he's actually dropping an eBay. He's going to delay that hatchery for as long as possible, get one Reaper out, then probably drop back and try and defend and pull it into a more normal game.
I absolutely think he has to kind of abandon this. There's not really too much of an opportunity for him to do anything, so the abandonment would be quite wise. He's even making a Marine here instead of a Reaper to actually continue this game on. So just the one Reaper. A Bomber has indeed abandoned this kind of full-on aggression, and he's actually going to go for the factory behind this.
I like that. I like that choice. I feel like he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on her. Even with the Speedling coming out, she's not going to have any creep up front because that eBay is going to delay the hatchery for so long.
Yeah.
And she's getting the second queen, but it still takes a while to get those tumors out. So I really feel like the Hellions are going to be able to apply a lot of pressure. And he sneaks the Reaper in. He sees there's only the one drone on gas, so he doesn't really have to worry about a Baneling bust right away. That's a lot of really good information that he picked up there. That's very important for him. He's actually accumulating minerals pretty quickly. He's going to be able to throw down a command center. I'm not sure how Scarlett's going to be able to punish this, because she's going to get the Speedling out. It's not going to accomplish anything, and she's just going to have a very late expansion, whereas Bomber is going to get a decently timed one and have those Hellions. And the Hellions are going to be able to accomplish a lot more than the Speedlings are.
There's 8 more Lings in production.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting.
She's going to have a wall and Hellions.
Yeah.
They're going to accomplish nothing. She sees the command center, so she knows exactly what he's doing.
I gotta say, whilst we were complimenting Scarlett on her ability to actually spot that and read into this last final game, at the same time, gotta compliment Bomber on his ability to react accordingly to make sure that he's not overcommitting to anything too drastic here.
Oh, and that one lone Marine is going to die. It's unfortunate for him, but everything else is nice and safe and sound behind the wall, and actually a very quick starport coming from Bomber.
That poor Marine, he was like, I could have been a Reaper, you didn't give me a jetpack, no. So yeah, he does not get away. Double command center behind this as well for Bomber. So big macro focus behind all of this initial planned aggression from Bomber. Meanwhile, Scarlett is morphing in a layer.
I like that. I think that's going to work here. Because he's going Banshee, he's got double CC, he's not going to have anything that shoots up anytime soon. If she catches him off guard, if he like waits for 2 Banshees, that's the thing. I don't think he's going to wait because he knows there's an Overlord there. This is not like a hidden Banshee. This is I'm going to make a Banshee, and it's going to force enough of a reaction that it doesn't matter if you know or not.
What is the plan?
He's going Cloak.
Yeah.
This is really bad for Bomber. He's just not going to have a real response to the mutas. They're going to give her so much map control.
This is pretty crazy here from Scarlett. We haven't seen her really change up too much of her games, but because of how things have unfolded here in game number 3, big changes are now about to occur. And as you rightly pointed out, you know, these Banshees with Cloak probably not going to do a whole lot against what we're seeing here from Scarlett.
And the first Banshee is rallied to his natural. It's not straight to the main, so he may not even know this is coming. He's not happy. He's not scanning constantly, really paranoid about every tech. He's kind of just thinking she's going to play normal. I don't think he's scanned at all. I don't think he really even thinks this is as much of a possibility.
Yeah, it's like if somehow Bomber could spot that Spire, he could go for the MVP style of, oh, okay, you have a Spire, you probably don't have that many more units. Oh, and he sees it! He sees it! Is he going to get aggressive with these Hellions? Those Zerglings, though, will pose a threat.
I think she has enough Zerglings to keep herself alive, but the Banshee's coming, and she has an Overseer, and she has additional Queens coming out. So I don't think she's in any danger, but the fact that it has been scouted, we see an eBay, or an armory come down. Does she have an eBay yet? Not getting an eBay at all. That's a little bit risky from him, because he's not going to have Thors out in time for the initial mutas, I don't think. Or if so, it's maybe going to be 1, and she's going to be able to run around killing SCVs. He needs to get turrets pretty quickly. But if he just gets a bunch of turrets up, and there goes the eBay there, he already has 3 CCs. She has a really poor drone count, and no sign of a third base anytime soon.
The funny thing about all of this is the fact that, well, he actually has I mean, not only does he not have any... Oh, a great run by here, though, by Scarlett, as she will actually find great room to do some damage to these SCVs. There's no units to actually defend against this. All the Hellions are over the other side of the map.
She gets in the main as well.
Yeah, this is great here for Scarlett. She's making more lings, and she's killed off around 4 workers, but not only is there no eBay, or was there no eBay for missile turrets, this one Thor being a later that you were saying, but there's like no Marines at all, so anti-air really hardly even exists. This is interesting.
The first mutas are in production. Only 4 of them. Does she already have some out on the map, or she just got supply blocks? That's really unfortunate because this initial wave of mutas is so incredibly important.
Oh.
Because it really has to snowball.
Okay, now a lot of anti-air is going to exist.
Yeah, lots of turrets coming up. She's going to be able to deny the third for a very long time, and she is about to take her own third. But economy-wise, Bomber is just kind of okay with that. He's going to be running a lot of mules. He's going to have enough SCVs to immediately saturate his third whenever he can secure it. And he's going mech, and mech, it's really hard to be efficient against mech. You can't play against it from a low economy situation. Oh, and very quick infestation.
Yeah, she knows. She knows. I mean, those lings gave her great insight, right, as to what everything that was going on in her opponent's base. So there are big switches here. The Mutalisks, do you really think she'll stick on too many here against well, already seeing the Thors? I guess not.
As soon as she sees the Thors come out, and she might poke around and see a turret or two, but she's going to know that there's really not that many openings to do damage. She kind of just needs to pull back and go into plan B. And in game number 2 of their previous series, we saw that plan B against mech was immediately into Broodlords. That could be the case here. We'll see if she puts up a hive right away. Yep, 4th base coming down. Lots of drones coming out, so she's establishing her economy, swinging into the late game.
I think what's cool about that 4th base, though, is the fact that she realizes her opponent going for mech. It's a little bit earlier than it was in previous games, right? Because of the fact that he can't really get over there and do too much about it.
And actually, we see the ranged attack upgrade coming, so maybe a switch into roaches, but I haven't seen a roach warren come down.
No, it's not roaches, my friend.
It's Locust. This will be fun.
You sounded so enthusiastic.
Yep.
Well, indeed, we have those swarm hosts on the way here for Scarlett. So she's read into this very quickly. Blue Flame Hellions, Blue Flames being researched for those Hellbats. So it's going to be Thors and Mini Thors, all guns ho here for Bomber.
I like the swarm host switch as a tactical decision from Scarlett. I think that's going to be very strong. Bomber doesn't seem to like tanks. He likes the Thor Hellion mech, the timing attack mech, and there's nothing in the game better against timing attacks except like force field than swarm hosts. Attacking into swarm hosts is just such a pain, especially if there's any kind of static defense with them. And this is a great 4-base turtle map. Everything is so close together, even with the immobility of swarm hosts. You can really just hold on to the 4 bases pretty quickly. And, of course, Scarlett, with her trademark creep spread, she's going to know everything that's coming. She's going to have as much mobility as she can in this situation.
Yeah.
I like this. This is going to be good for her.
It's a very good setup for her going into this mid-game, but at the same time, Bomber is rocketing ahead in terms of that supply count. Now moving out a little bit with this army. And again, it's a furiously strong army if he's able to get into position, but can he? I mean, Scarlett is just going to keep picking away at it in the middle of the map, and as long as she stays out of the range of those Thors with the Mutalisks, then
the Thors are in single-shot mode. That's strange.
Yeah. I guess he's anticipating some Broodlords being out earlier, but that's kind of weird. It's early.
Yeah. And he's been scanning. He's been actively scouting. I think he has to know. I don't know. Maybe it's just because there's so few mutas. He figures he wants to take them down very quickly, not try and just go for the AoE.
Perhaps. Well, the Swarm Host needs to move back a little bit. 7 more are about to pop. She absolutely needs those extra 7 with this to make this work out.
Oh,
the slight rally.
A bit.
Yeah, that can always happen when you're controlling Swarm Host because of the requirement to rally those Locusts out. And this for Bomber is actually breaching a very strong position here.
Yeah, but he's committing here. So if he gets caught by a wave of Locusts, the problem is Scarlett doesn't have any support units. She doesn't have any roaches. She doesn't even have any lings. So he can kind of just run around the Locusts, and he's going to take out that hatchery very quickly.
Very quickly indeed, but now he's kind of stuck. Right?
Yeah, there is no escape for him here. I think he may just lose everything, but I honestly think that's worthwhile given how much economy he has relative to her.
Yeah, I got some drones. I wouldn't have been surprised though if Scarlett realized at some point that, you know, this base, it dies, that's fantastic. That's not so good even, sorry. But then takes a base down to the bottom left-hand corner whilst that one was dying. But that seems to not happen. She's just getting the Vipers out to also complement these +2 weapons upgrades for these Swarm Hosts. And again, these Thors, they're having a hard time of really escaping.
Yeah, it looks like they are trapped. They will die to this wave for sure. So that's a pretty big investment. He lost 4 Hellions plus 4 Thors plus the Hellbats, and now the Banshee. to that, presumably the Banshee. And
also,
she has a third base coming up.
Yeah, and also the adaptation here from Bomber, which is seeing swarm hosts. It's time to go for a few tanks in this army, which we actually haven't really seen out of Bomber today.
No, I don't think we've seen him build a single tank thus far, even in his previous mech game.
All right, well, this expansion down at the bottom left that we were mentioning earlier, where Scarlett would probably end up taking it, is on the way. So against a very, very mobile army like this from Bomber, it's important to start spreading out those expansions so that one goes down, maybe you can pop up another over on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, depending on where it's already been hit. And Locusts are now going for the assault.
And that's a lot of swarm hosts, and she's making more. She still has 3 more in production, along with some support units, and she has Vipers. And without any Vikings, the first 2 Vikings, we can see the shadow there. First 2 Vikings are out, so maybe that will provide some defense and keep his unit safe. But if she just abducts everything from range into the swarm host, she could very easily wear him down here.
Yeah, and those abducts could quite easily happen, but she does need the Locust there first to be able to do that. Pulls it forwards, but there's no Locust there for a second, and now they will come along and kill that one off.
And Bomber not shooting those Vipers down for some reason. The Vikings are there. Now they come into play.
And now we need the Mutalisks to come along to try and also counter that off. But that Viking...
One Viper down.
Yeah, they killed that one Viper off very fast. Well...
the second Viper does survive, but either way, the tactic of just kind of sitting there and picking apart his army is not going to work. He does have defense up in time.
Oh, Ling's going to try and kill off the rocks at the third base as well here. So Scarlett's really starting to ramp up the pressure against Bomber, who seems very, very contained. I'm not sure actually how he's going to break out of this so easily. He absolutely needs to rise his Viking count so he can take control of the skies and then maybe move out. With Vipers and Mutalisks there, it's going to be a whole lot harder.
That it is, but these Vikings are shooting. Oh, actually, he's losing all the Vikings.
Oh.
He lost every single one of them. That's he has 2 more out, but that's really, really bad. He needs air control.
And look at the creep spread. She could even have Queens come out with this and just reinforce the front, making it even harder for those Vikings to actually attack Vipers, etc. Because Queen anti-air support is pretty darn good.
You can even put, actually, we do see the static defense coming out. The spores are queued up already. And Bomber's just trying to attack move out through this, and he will push it back for a moment, but she's just going to wait for the next wave, reburrow, and probably push him back.
Yeah, Blue Flame Hellbats do clean up those Locusts quite quickly, but you're right, if that static defense gets up here for Scarlett, then Bomber in this situation, I don't think she can throw it that close. But look at this, she took out the rocks. She's killing off a lot of workers here. 32 have already gone down. She has to retreat out from the middle of the swarm hosts. But at
She's
the
just
same
running into the main.
Exactly. This is fantastic here for Scarlett. But Bomber has a very strong standing army himself. He has 126 army supply to 127. He's going to continue this pursuit. The swarm hosts need to make sure they don't engage fully and directly. Just keep unburrowing, unburrowing, and running away. But where are they going?
He's losing his entire army.
He's losing so much, but Scarlett, actually, this is almost a show of confidence. This is just a show of confidence. She knows how much damage she's done. The Swans, GG! Scarlett moves on. Revenge has been taken, and she moves on to the top 8 here at the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore.
That was incredible. Bomber just fell apart there at the end. The Zergling run-by was brilliant by Scarlett, and then he just completely lost track of his main army. He was ready to all in with it, but you can't all in against Swarm Hosts. You just have to take your time, and he didn't, and he lost everything.
What a performance here from both of these players in all, and now currently in Heart of the Swarm, they stand 2-2 in terms of series, so there's never really that clear winner between these, but today, here, advancing on, Scarlett is able to make it happen. And congratulations to her, commiserations to our WCS Season 2 champion for now falling out of the Intel Extreme Masters Singapore.
And Scarlett is now the first non-Korean player to make it into the top 8, with only Grubby left to contend for another spot, I believe. And so that's her and a bunch of Koreans so far.
Scarlett and a bunch of Koreans, that sounds like every other tournament.
Very familiar.
But yeah, that certainly happens quite a bit, but there is still opportunity here, as you rightly said, for Grubby to advance on from Group D, which will be happening and starting in just a little bit here. So stay tuned for more awesome StarCraft action. We have a lot more still on the way. But without further ado, guys, let's head over to Paul on the stage with the victor, Acer Scarlett.
Thanks very much, guys. Thank you to Idra and to Kalaris for that one. Congratulations, Scarlett, ladies and gentlemen, is your winner. I don't even know where to begin in that game. Another crazy match with Bomber. I think we just record that and play it every time you play each other. That's 2-2 now head-to-head, so that's quite good. It also means you're through to the quarterfinal. First non-Korean in the quarterfinal. We've only got Grubby left in the back right now as well. But forget all of that. try and sum up how you're feeling right now after such an intense game.
I kind of didn't expect to make it, so I'm really happy I made it to round of 8. I thought I was going to lose to Bomber at the end, especially after the first game. I just kind of lost straight at the start. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, Idra raised the fact that he would play very normal first game, and I wasn't expecting that. I don't think you were expecting that, were you?
No, I opened pool really fast. I thought he was going to proxy 2x or something, but he played standard and I just died, so I kind of expected to lose this series because I wasn't playing my best, but game 3 I got a really good build order against his.
Yeah, third map, it was almost like you read his mind. You were like, okay, he didn't proxy, then he didn't proxy, so now presumably map 3 he's going to proxy, right?
Well, the first series I Jones scouted all the games. The second series I wasn't Jones scouting, and also 14-14 I've been doing a lot on ladder, just against anything. It's good against CC first too if they don't scout, because they send their CC down and they just run all the speedlings, and if they didn't SCV scout, and you just win. And I've been doing it a lot. Terrans don't expect it, and it's really good.
Yeah, I know we don't expect it. I've been playing a lot against Zergs doing the same thing. In terms of the quarterfinal now, you have a genuine shot now at the Intel Extreme Masters. You're actually, for the first time ever at the Intel Extreme Masters, it's great to have you with us. We've missed having you on the Intel Extreme Masters. First time in Singapore as well. You've got a lot of support in the crowd here. And now you're just 3 games away from claiming a title this year. Is that in the back of your mind? Because we haven't seen a single non-Korean win a title this year in the Premier Leagues.
Well, I have to do better than Naniwa does at GMAP Winter.
And that's a perfect way to end the interview. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Scarlett is through to the quarterfinals. And when we come back, we have more action, this time from Group D, and we have something special for you. And that's right, we finally got them together on the same commentary. Todd and Idra will cast the next match together. We'll be back soon.
Professional-grade communication tool. The choice of professional teams. Perfect stream viewing experience. Chosen by online streamers. Easy to use voice messenger service. Chosen by over 12 million gamers.
Communication is always vital when competing in tournaments. Winning a match requires perfect coordination. You cannot win by yourself.
Raid Call. Communication for winners.